Next on Worcester News Tonight, Aaron Hernandez found dead in his prison cell. The reaction from fans as the investigation begins. Plus, a John Hancock display debuting at a Worcester museum. We'll have a glimpse at the historical exhibit. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Catherine Andrioli. We begin tonight with the death of former Patriots star Aaron Hernandez. He was found dead in his prison cell in Shirley early this morning. The Department of Corrections is saying he hanged himself using a bedsheet. Our Olivia Lemon spoke with Patriots fans who were shocked to learn the news.
First, I was shocked.
I was surprised when I heard the news.
Prison guards found Aaron Hernandez hanged in his cell early Wednesday morning. The former Patriots tight end was pronounced dead an hour later. The news coming as a shock to football fans in central Massachusetts.
It's a tragedy all around for everybody. The Odin Lloyd family and his fiancée, everybody loses. Himself included.
Hernandez was convicted of killing Odin Lloyd 2 years ago and was serving a life sentence at the Sousa Baranowski Correction Center in Shirley. A statement from the state's Department of Corrections says Hernandez was in a single cell and hanged himself utilizing a bedsheet that he attached to a cell window. The Department of Corrections also says Hernandez attempted to block his door from inside by jamming the door with various items.
Life without parole. Very tough bid to handle.
Criminal Justice Attorney Michael Cashman says there is always an automatic appeals process when anyone is convicted of first-degree murder, and if the process is not completed because of a death, the conviction is dropped, meaning in the eyes of the court, Hernandez dies an innocent man.
What happens now is because he has passed away, basically the appeal stops, everything gets sent back to the lower court, and ultimately the case will get dismissed.
Just 5 days ago, Hernandez was acquitted of a 2012 double murder. He wasn't under a suicide watch, making it difficult for some Patriots fans to believe why it happened now.
Everything he's gone through, I think that sort of did it for him.
Despite where he was, he should have had something to look forward to. And for whatever reason, he obviously was still tormented.
Olivia Lemon, Worcester News Tonight.
We're also hearing from Hernandez's attorneys and their reaction on his death. Caroline Connolly has the details.
It was just days ago that Aaron Hernandez was found not guilty in a Boston courtroom, giving his family new hope until he was found dead today.
They're saddened by this turn of events.
Springfield-based attorney John Thompson was representing Hernandez in the appeal of his first murder conviction for the killing of Odin Lloyd, suggesting there was a possibility the former Patriot star could someday get out of prison. Were you optimistic about it?
Yes, we go into every appeal believing that we can win it, and we felt that way about Aaron's appeal.
Now Thompson will instead begin the process of trying to vacate the conviction in lieu of Hernandez's death. Meanwhile, the legal team who fought for his recent verdict plans to fight for answers in his death. Lead attorney Jose Baez sent us a statement saying in part, quote, "The family and legal team is shocked and surprised at the news of Aaron's death. There were no conversations or correspondence from Aaron to his family or legal team that would have indicated anything like this was possible." I'm Caroline Conley for Worcester News Tonight.
And Dudley police releasing these photos of two men they say robbed Patriots Fuel in Dudley early Tuesday morning. Police say the two men smashed the front window of the building with a rock and stole a small amount of money and cigarettes. According to police, they ran out a side door of the building into a wooded area before they arrived. Officers say they believe the men took off in an unmarked car heading towards Worcester. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. We're hearing from Preservation Worcester tonight on their continued efforts to save the former Notre Dame de Canadiens church from demolition. The organization says they found a developer who made an offer on the building and wants to repurpose it and bring new amenities to downtown Worcester. These are the proposed blueprints from the developer who made an offer on the historic property. Preservation Worcester says the building would be transformed into a marketplace as a focal point in downtown Worcester. Proposed amenities include a farmer's market and a brewery. Preservation Worcester says the estimated cost of this project is around $19 million and would be financed primarily by federal and state historic tax credits. Executive Director Deborah Packard says the building would create a one-of-a-kind destination and would contribute to the rebirth of downtown Worcester.
Reasons we think it's really important. One is the history of the church. It was the seat of the French Canadian community in Worcester. We think it's architecturally significant, one of the most significant buildings in the city. We think that it's important to have a good mix of old and new buildings downtown. Revitalizing an old building is an economic development generator, and we think, as with the Hanover Theater, that this could be another important step in the revitalization of downtown.
Now, the demolition delay ordinance expired last weekend for Notre Dame Day's Canadiens. Preservation Worcester says the property owner said a purchase and sale agreement was already signed with an unknown buyer, and their developer has not yet been able to negotiate with that buyer. It is also unknown if the current buyer plans on repurposing the church or demolishing it. A local art gallery in Worcester held the 4th annual Worcester Armenian Film Festival tonight. The event, hosted by the Sprinkler Factory, featured several film shorts about Armenian culture. Several dozen people attended tonight's screening, including some of the filmmakers.
Civilians. It had certain import when Picasso made Guernica because he was so outraged, but people know.
This is just kind of a celebration of art, cinema, and culture. It's a way for Armenians to come together and celebrate culture, but it's also a way for Armenians to, reach out and be involved with the Worcester community.
And the film festival will continue tomorrow at the Blackstone Valley Cinema in Millbury. There will be a film playing called Women of 1915. It's about the women who lost their lives and those survived in the Armenian genocide. For a limited time, the trunk of Massachusetts' first governor, John Hancock, will be on display at the Worcester Historical Museum. The revolutionary leader and statesman kept important documents in the trunk during the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Rosalind Flaherty saw the display today and has the details.
It only comes out once a year at the Worcester Historical Museum.
It was there. It was part of the making of the American Revolution, the seeds of that war.
This leather-covered trunk belonged to John Hancock. In it, the statesman kept important documents his fellow patriots wanted to make sure the British didn't get during the Battle of Lexington and Concord.
They were the minutes of the meetings of the Provincial Congress and correspondence between the revolutionary leaders. And any of that would have gotten them in huge trouble with the British.
Curator Holly Izard says Paul Revere carried the heavy trunk to a safe place in 1775.
He's running this thing out with his relative while the British are gathering on either side. And the musket balls are firing, and he was caught in the middle of the beginning of the war.
Izard says after the Revolution, it was stored in the home of Hancock's widow. Their niece discovered it and sent the empty trunk to the American Antiquarian Society. It was brought to the Worcester Historical Museum in 1895.
It has been treated, it's been conserved, and you can see it's still pretty battered, but that's the best you can do.
The Worcester Historical Museum says it only goes on display once a year because the trunk is fragile and if exposed to light can easily get destroyed.
It's in a climate-controlled place, and it's just a treat to bring it out only once a year.
They say it's an hour-long process to bring it up into the case because it's so heavy, and say they can't imagine what it was like for Paul Revere.
We're bringing it up an elevator. You can imagine two guys running through the woods with bullets flying past their heads trying to carry this thing filled with papers. It takes it to a whole nother level for you.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
A water main break shut down a portion of Route 31 in Spencer earlier tonight. It happened on Maple Street and Dustin Street in Spencer around 6 o'clock. Crews worked to clean up the water, and as you can see, the street was soaked. Many residents in the area said they didn't have water. Spencer police say water main breaks can create hazardous situations for drivers, and it's important that people avoid the area.
Right now, because of the break, the road is buckled, which is why we have the road closed, and we have crews en route to repair that. It lifted the pavement up, and unknown how strong or how much dirt is left underneath. So until they're able to check that out and make sure that the road's safe, we've closed the road.
And as of 9 o'clock tonight, crews were continuing to work on the water main break, according to Spencer Police. Earth Day is this Saturday, but the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife is celebrating all week long. Wednesday, Mass Wildlife held a trout stocking event at 5 locations across the state, including right here in Worcester. 900 trout were transferred into Lake Quinsigamond with the help of a few kids on April vacation. Fisheries biologist Richard Hardley says having trout in the water is a good sign.
Trout are actually indicators of really good water quality. They tend to like colder, well-oxygenated water versus a lot of the resident species that could take maybe warmer temperatures or not as high a water quality. Lake Quinsigamond has the ability to hold these trout all summer. It's a relatively unique fishery.
And hundreds of those brown and brook trout will be available for future fishing opportunities this spring.